Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name is Emily if it is your first time here, and in today's video I am going to be doing a full face of makeup using my top favorite makeup items from this year. Some of my favorites aren't actually like physically here with me right now because I left them in a friend's car in a makeup bag, but I will be mentioning those and pointing them out. And then we only ended up having one category where I cannot pick just one, and I have to give an honorable mention to another one as well, but that is going to come at the very end of the video. So I think I did pretty good picking out my choices, and it was actually a lot easier than I thought it was going to be for some of these. All right, so I'm going to just hop right into the makeup. So the very first thing I'm going to do is prime my eyelids. Usually I do this off camera, and honestly, maybe I should today too, but I'm using my Nars Soft Matte Complete Concealer. Y'all know I've been trying to hit pan on this basically the entire year. This is not my favorite eyeshadow primer. My favorite eyeshadow primer is the Alamar Cosmetics Pero Primero Primer, and that is in that makeup bag and my friend's car that I still have not gotten back from her yet. So I'm using this today. This year, I realized how much I actually love real eyeshadow primers and not just concealer, which is why I've been trying to pan this concealer, and I just have not been able to stop using the Alamar Cosmetics one. It's just so good. It keeps my eyeshadow in place all day. It's super sticky. So if I'm doing like a really like bold and colorful look, I will not set it. If I'm just doing kind of more of an everyday look, I will set it. It's a pretty versatile eyeshadow primer, and it just works really well for my everyday use, and I really have enjoyed this all year, and it has inspired me to want to try more eyeshadow primers too. So I am going to set this off camera using the face setting powder that I'm going to use later. All right, so this was probably the hardest category to pick a favorite from, just because it's like one of the biggest categories in my collection, and it is the category that I love the most. So I ended up choosing my Natasha Denona bronze palette. I know it's kind of boring to choose this, but like looking through my collection, I had so many eyeshadow palettes that I loved using. Like, I don't even know what that was. I considered choosing this one, but which I love this palette, but I can't. I have to go with the Natasha Denona. Like, I just kept going back to it. It's definitely my most used eyeshadow palette of the year. I didn't get it that long ago, but I seriously like kept going back to it, and like I try to use everything pretty like evenly throughout my collection, and I just could not stay away from this. The shimmers are so pretty. I love that it has more shimmers in it than it does mattes. For me, in my personal collection, I have all the mattes that I need. If I need a certain matte, I can find it. And that's also just more exciting to me in a palette. I definitely gravitate towards shimmers more in an eyeshadow palette than I do mattes, and mattes are definitely essential, but it's just like they're not as fun, you know? So I'm just going in with the shade Beach from this eyeshadow palette. I'm not going to be doing literally anything fun and exciting with this eye look. All I have planned for today is grocery shopping. So like, I don't really need to get all like gussied up to go to the grocery store, you know? I'm now picking up the shade Suntan, and I'm going to put that a little lower in my crease. This year is honestly, the end could not come faster at this point. I know that like New Year's Eve and New Year's Day, it's just like another day, but there is something kind of nice about having like a time to be more mindful about like the changes you want to make in your life. And for me, I always find it super helpful just to like keep that in mind, just like any change maybe I want to make. And like, I don't set like New Year's resolutions, but like if I had to say what my New Year's resolution was, it would just be to have a better year than I had this year. I just went through a lot. I'm just ready for the new year, I guess. And I'm also excited because I will be going back to university right at the beginning of January, like the second week of January. So I'm just super excited for that. I wasn't planning on talking about this in this video, but like, I guess while I'm sitting here blending away, I will. This year, it started off great. I was in a relationship with someone who I thought that I was going to be with forever, and looking back, I am young. I was 19 at the time. I'm now 20, still young, and I thought that I was going to be with them forever, and I just, you know, I feel like that's very young to make that decision. At least for me personally, that was definitely too young to try to make such a big decision like that. And we ended up breaking up in June, and I cannot remember if I talked about this in my last video or not. I guess I'll have to go back and check. But then, you know, in July, about a month later, I was trigger warning, sexual assault, click off now. I was raped, and you know, that was not very fun. And already that year before the sexual assault happened, I had already moved once, right? Yes, I had moved once. And then, you know, sexual assault. I ended up moving again. I moved out of the apartment that it happened in, and in with my mom. And then we'll get to this later, but I ended up moving one more time. So I moved like 3 times this year, and that's just a lot. So that is already just like stressful enough, and moving, like, it costs a lot of money. It just has not been a great year, like, financially for me. And right after my sexual assault happened, I was, you know, definitely not in the best like mindset, and I never got like the professional help that I needed. I always said that I was fine, and like everyone knew that I wasn't, and I knew that I wasn't, but I was just telling everyone that I was fine and that I was doing okay, and I am doing a lot better now. But I never got like professional help. I looked into getting professional help, tried to get professional help, but it just never ended up happening. And it's definitely not too late, and I definitely in the new year want to like try to get into therapy, but I just never got the professional help that I needed, and then rushed into a relationship basically like right after I was raped. And that was so bad. I was with that guy for less than a month. It ended really disgustingly, literally. If any of my friends are watching this, if you know, you know. If you know, you know. And I ended things with him, and then I ended up meeting my current boyfriend, who I've now been with like 2.5 months, and here I am. We currently are living together, so here I am now. I am doing really well. That's kind of why I went off of YouTube for such a long time, and I've just been getting into a better place, like mentally. That's why I made my return to YouTube, started making videos again, and they have also been very therapeutic, even though I know I've only uploaded 2 videos before this, and there was a break in between this video and my last video, and I wasn't like in a having mental health issues. It just was the holidays. I was just crazy busy, and work got a little stressful, so I just ended up having a little 3-week break, you know. But I just thought that at some point I was definitely going to share where I was on that break, and it just seemed like the right video, just to like get that all out there before the new year, you know. And my eyeshadow's done, so that story ended at the perfect time. I ended up taking a mix of Magma and Deep Dive and putting that on my outer corners, and then I took the shade Bliss and put that over my lids. It's like a really pretty kind of duochrome pink to greeny gold kind of shimmer shade, and I think it's super, super pretty. So my face priming routine has changed a lot this year. So first I go in with an all over face primer, and my favorite one this year, I just have a mini sample of it, and I've only had it probably like less than 3 months, and it is the Milk Makeup Hydro Grip Primer. I know this product is so hyped up. Everyone loves this primer. Everyone talks about it, but for me, it is the first product with, I don't want to say this as fact, but I believe that it has CBD in it, and it is the, if it does, then it is the first product with CBD in it that has not broken me out. And if it doesn't, then that's why it hasn't broken me out, because it doesn't even have CBD in it. So maybe this whole thing is pointless, but it's just a really cool primer. I take like 1.5 pumps, and it is like kind of like a really thick gel, but then as you start rubbing it in, it gets super sticky. And honestly, people exaggerated the stick a lot more than it is sticky. Like it's sticky, don't get me wrong, but it doesn't feel like glue. Like, people got real dramatic when trying to describe this primer. Like, it's for sure sticky, but not as bad as you might think it is. And I just really like this primer. I feel like it helps prolong the wear of my foundation. And then I also added two, to me, essential steps into my priming routine this year, and that came with the addition of my Tula Skincare Rose Glow and Get It Cooling and Brightening Eye Balm. I just find that this helps kind of like moisturize and smoothen my under eyes and also brighten them. Besides that, it just kind of feels good, and it's just become a part of my routine, even if it doesn't like really brighten or do anything. But it's just become a part of my routine. It feels really good to like rub that on my under eyes before I go in with my foundation and stuff. And then Auric Beauty launched this year, and I love Samantha Ravindal, and so I picked up the Glow Lust. I also picked up the I cannot remember what they're called, eyeshadows, and I love those too. But the Glow Lust in the shade Selenite is what I go in with next, and I just take it always on this brush. This is the Royal and Langnickel complexion brush, and I'll just take a little pearl of that, and then I just start to work it into the top of my cheekbones. I've become a lot less of a full coverage foundation person this year and more of a glowy base, but without having to cake on a bunch of like highlighter. And I like looking glowy on my cheekbones and looking like I have highlighter, but I really want it to look like I'm like glowing from within, you know? So I find that this really helps me be able to do that, because one, it's underneath my foundation, so like it kind of is glowing from within, because it's like glowing from within another layer, you know? Does that make sense? It does not, but you know. And then I don't have to apply as much like powder highlight on top, or like even sometimes a liquid or cream highlight can look a little heavy. I don't have to apply as much because I already have some glow, so it just kind of helps everything mesh together. And I just love this. I do use it as a highlight on its own. I use it as an all over face primer, but the primary way that I use it is putting it on my cheekbones before I go in with my foundation. Before I move on to foundation, I'm going to moisturize my lips because they are super crusty, and this I dropped the cap to somewhere, have no idea where it happened to go off to. But I have been using the Bite Beauty Agave Intensive Lip Mask religiously. I know that this has gone through its whole reformulation, and this is like the reformulated version, and apparently it's not as good as the original, but it's still good. I never tried the original, and I think this is really good. So like, if the original is even better, then holy cow. But like, if you never tried the original and you want to try this, like, this is a really good like lip mask, and I just use it as lip balm. This year I would definitely say that my makeup style has evolved a lot. I've put a lot of time into like prepping and making sure my skin underneath looks good, and I think I watched a video from Kiki G earlier this year where she said something about like, do your makeup how you want it to look. Like, we always put so much like time and energy into like making sure that our makeup stays put and looks the same like throughout the day. My lip is bleeding. That's how dry they were. I cracked my lip. Oops. She was like, you don't need to put so much effort into like making sure your makeup lasts throughout the day and looks the same. Like, do your makeup how you want it to look when you're done doing it. Your makeup is gonna move around. That's the nature of your face. Your face moves. It's not gonna stay around. You move throughout the day. Like, it goes through environmental changes throughout the day. Like, just do your makeup how you wanna look and it'll be okay. So that's kind of the approach that I've started to take with my makeup this year. This is all just, not even to preface this foundation, it just I don't know, still talking about complexion, I guess. I am going in with my Guerlain L'Essentiel Natural Glow Foundation in the shade 00N. And I bought this back in April when I went to Florida to Disney World. And I picked it up because Julia Adams, who is one of my favorite YouTubers, always talks about this foundation. And I think since me filming this, she actually has said recently in a video that this is not her favorite anymore, which, you know, that's okay, but it's my favorite. It's so good. It is really, really natural looking, and it lets that stuff that we put underneath shine through, and it is very like glowy on its own, and it's really nice. It's a really nice foundation, and it looks like this color is like crazy for me, but I just have a lot of like redness in my cheeks. It's also just kind of hot in here right now, so it's a really good color match for like the rest of me. It just like looks kind of drastic, you know. And also just the packaging, I'm gonna hold up my little mirror so I can like have a flat surface to set this on. I think it's cute. It sits like sideways, and I don't know, it makes me feel very like bougie whenever I like pull this out and apply it. And this has also just, I've noticed, become my go-to foundation. I obviously have not gone on like trips this year other than the Disney trip, just because, you know, COVID's still going on, but I have like visited my dad down in Kentucky a few times, and I did go on that one vacation to Florida, and after I bought this in Florida, this is all I wore on the trip. This is what I've been taking with me if I do have to like go stay overnight somewhere and I like want to bring makeup with me. It just is so beautiful for every day, and it does kill me to say that because it is like pretty expensive. It just makes my skin look like skin, honestly, and that is all I could ask for a foundation. So this year I also ended up trying the Becca Under Eye Brightening Corrector, and I do have a few other correctors that I have recently started using. This one still is just so good. What I like about this is how subtle the corrective pinkness is. Like, yes, it's pink, but it's not like red or like bright pink, and it just is such a subtle way to correct your under eyes. All right, and then my favorite concealer this year is one that I also have not had for that long. It is the Makeup Forever Ultra HD Light Capturing Self-Setting Concealer, and I have mine in the shade 25. The shade I have is more of a pinky undertone, which I find also helps correct my skin a little bit more, or correct my under eye bags a little bit more. This concealer is not super full coverage, but it has enough coverage, and like the foundation, it has a very kind of like luminous, healthy looking finish to it. And it is called a self-setting concealer, and I have worn it without setting it, and while I wouldn't say it lasts 100% as well as it does when it's set, it doesn't move around and like disappear as much as it would as if it was a different concealer. My favorite under eye setting powder of this year is actually the one from Makeup Forever. It is the Makeup Forever Ultra HD Micro Finishing Loose Powder. This is just so blurring. It is so smoothing and blurring, and it makes your under eyes feel silky, silky, silky smooth, and it just is perfect. The one that I have is still just like my little sample, because I find that I like truly do not need to use that much when I'm using it, and so the sample's just not dying. It's kicking around still here with me. It just mattifies my under eyes really nicely without making them look like dry, and it blurs it so well. Like, you can see compared to like my cheeks around the area and like my forehead and stuff, it is so blurred. And I will go in with a little bit of this on my sponge and kind of set like in between my eyebrows and my T-zone. And then to set my entire face, like the entire rest of my face, today I'm going to be going in with my Rimmel Stay Matte powder, but that is only because my favorite powder of the year actually broke a few months ago and I just have not repurchased it yet, but it is the Covergirl Clean Fresh Pressed Powder. Again, it definitely has blurring qualities to it like the under eye powder does. Maybe not as extreme, but I think maybe it'd look a little off if I had that much blurring like on my entire face. It was super like pigmented. Like I feel like with a lot of face powders that I have, I put my brush in and I have to like really get in there to like pick up product, but this, it just like the product clung so well to brushes, and it was just a really nice powder and it made my makeup last well. So I enjoyed that powder more than any other powder in my collection this year. For my setting spray, I'm going to use the Rare Beauty Always an Optimist 4-in-1 Mist. This is definitely my favorite setting spray of the year. It is super moisturizing, and when it settles, it actually has like a bi-phase like oil layer on top, which I do have like a few other sprays that I've used this year that have had that as well, and they like just leave my face kind of feeling icky and like oily, but this one doesn't do that. I find that it sets my powders in really nicely and makes them mesh a little bit more, and it helps them look a little less powdery. So for my eyebrows, you probably know what product I'm going to be using. It is my Todd Tinted Shaping Wax. I have used the crap out of this year. I think I bought this in like within this year, like within 2021, but I honestly cannot remember. If it wasn't within 2021, it was definitely like right at the end of 2020. But it's just so good. I've been using a different product recently that like really cakes up my eyebrow brush, so I'm trying to clean it right now a little bit. But this eyebrow stuff is just so good. It sets my eyebrows in place so well, and it does add a little bit of tint. For a while I was like, yeah, this says it's tinted, but like it doesn't really show up on my eyebrows. But recently I've been noticing that it definitely does show up on my brows more than I thought that it did, which is kind of nice considering my hair is pretty dark and my natural eyebrows are not as dark as my hair color at the moment. So filling them in is kind of needed, but it's just so easy to spray the wax and brush this through my eyebrows, and it like really clings to every hair. See, you can tell that it definitely does add a tint. I don't know what I was thinking that it didn't. Silly goose. And then after these dry just a little bit, I am going to go in and kind of press them down, but I'm not going to do that yet because I want them to dry so I don't accidentally wipe out like all the wax that's in them. All right, so I'm not going to be wearing any eyeliner today besides a little bit of a brown eyeliner in my waterline, which we will get to in a minute. But I did want to mention my other two favorite eyeliners of the year. So the first one I actually don't have with me, and it is the Nabla Serial Liner. I have been, while I'm doing this, I'm gonna press down my eyebrows. Well, I have been looking for an alternative to the Kat Von D tattoo liner, and I wanted like a brush tip liner, and I wanted it to be super easy to work with and super black, and that is what I get from the Nabla Serial Liner. So that is my favorite kind of like liquid liner of the year, you know. And then my favorite like pencil liner is actually the KVD Cake Pencil Liner in the shade Trooper Black. I just find that it stays like no other, and it is super black, but it's also super creamy and super to blend out. Once you get it blended out, it does not budge. So I do really like that liner. But then the eyeliner that I'm going to be applying today is not just this specific color, but this is not this specific color necessarily, but this line of liners from this specific brand, and these are the Colourpop Crumb Gel liners. I'm going to be using the shade Woodsy today, which is the color that Raw Beauty Christie created when she did her collab with them. And these liners are just really fun. They have so many colors and they're really nice for the waterline. I don't really wear them like blended out or anywhere else besides my waterline, but they stay really well in the waterline, and like I said, their range of colors is phenomenal. So this is my favorite kind of like colored liner. Okay, so then I have two favorite mascaras of the year. The first one I have been using for a few years now, and I've definitely mentioned it before, and it's the Lancome Monsieur Big Mascara. I'm using just a little mini sample of it today because the full-size one is in that makeup bag in my friend's car. But this mascara just gives me so much length and so much volume without looking clumpy, and it does not flake or smudge on my cheeks, and it just kind of ticks all the boxes. Like, it does everything that, in my opinion, a good mascara should do, and it doesn't really have anything that's wrong with it. I love the brush. It's a natural hair brush, and it is honestly just a straight brush with like no funky shape, but it's the bristles in the formula is really what does it for me for this mascara. This one that I'm applying right now, like this little mini sample, is a little bit on the dry side, so my lashes probably won't look as glorious as they would if I was using like a good newer fresh tube like the one that's in my makeup bag. It will still get the job done and kind of demonstrate a little bit of how great this mascara is. All right, and this is only for my top lashes. Y'all know that I don't put mascara on my bottom lashes, except now I do, because I discovered that the Victoria Beckham Beauty Future Lash Mascara, which is a tubing mascara, is really great for the lower lashes and not as great for the upper lashes. It is a tubing mascara, so it does not smudge, and because the wand is so teeny tiny, it is really easy to get into all your little tiny baby bottom lashes, you know. This one I do have to be more careful with because it is kind of easy to go overboard and make them look a little clumpy, but we didn't that time, so good on me. And then I'm going to go to bronzer. What bronzer did I choose? Did I choose a bronzer? I didn't choose a bronzer. Let me choose a bronzer. Okay. I'm back. So I'm going to be using the Vesca Beauty Kissed by Santorini, that was a hard word, bronzing powder. It is just a matte bronzer, but the undertone is nice and olivey, which I really like for my bronzers, I've found out. And it applies like a dream. It looks crazy. This color is a tad bit dark for me, but it's super easy to blend. This is the Elmar Cosmetics bronzing brush, and y'all know I gotta put bronzer everywhere. If and when I repurchase this bronzer, I'll probably go with the lighter shade, but this formula is stunning and it's just so easy to work with. Now I'm going to go in with highlighter next. This is also a little like cheek product routine that I've been doing, is my bronzer, then highlighter, then blush last. So I'm going to be going in with my Milk Makeup Flex highlighter in the shade Lit. I hate this eyebrow right now. It looks like this. It is the prettiest highlight ever, and like I said, because we already have some glow still peeking through from that auric stuff, we don't have to go in with a ton of this, so I just take a little bit. This is not my favorite highlighter brush, but it's in that makeup bag, but I just apply a little bit of this to my cheeks. That looks like a lot. I went in with a little bit more than I meant to, but we are going to blend it out really well in a moment. I like really take my time to work this into my skin, and this just helps make it look super natural too. Then blush. This was probably the second hardest decision I had to make besides like eyeshadow palette, but ultimately I went with what is now kind of funky looking, my Tower 28 Beach Please blush in Rush Hour. It has these little like dots on it. I don't know if that's mold or condensation. I'm still gonna use this blush, so I have been applying it with a brush and my finger this year. Today I'm going with my finger because I kind of wanted to mix up some of those funky looking dots, and I am just like in love with this blush. I have since bought at least one, potentially two more, and it's just so easy to apply. It works beautifully over powders, and I just think it's so pretty. This color in particular is my favorite one as well. I think I said what it was called, but in case I didn't, I'm using the shade Rush Hour. It's just so quick and easy to apply with my finger, and I also feel like I'm finger painting, so that's always a plus, you know. And then for lips, my favorite lip liner is still the NYX lip liner in the shade Natural. This has not changed for a few years now, and it's just such a good color. I find that filling doing my lip liner with this color is faster than any other lip liner in my collection, and it just looks so pretty. I'm obsessed with it. I am going in with a full like lip liner, lipstick, lip gloss today just to show you my favorites. So the lipstick that I'm using is the Nabla Metropolitan lipstick. This is my perfect nude lipstick paired with this lip liner. It is impeccable. It is the first kind of like neutral beige lipstick in my collection that I ever, you know, tried, and it has stolen my heart. It is my go-to. It has come in my makeup bag with me many a time this year, and I just think it is stunning. So the honorable mention lip gloss that I'm going to talk about is the Nabla Shine Theory lip glosses. I now have two. I have the shade RSVP, which is really dark, and then the shade Toxic Love, which is a little bit lighter. And I love these shades. I love this lip gloss, love the formula. It is the most stunning shimmery lip gloss without looking like metallic on your lip, and it's just really, 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 really pretty. But I had to go with the Tower 28 Shine On Lip Jelly, and I have the shade Magic that I'm going to be using today. But I basically have all the shades now, and they're just so pretty. This shade has, in particular, kind of taken a hold on my heart. I love a glittery lip gloss, and this is a clear lip gloss with just the most amount of like beautiful gold reflect in it, and I find that it is stunning. I really love this face of makeup. I feel super pretty right now. I feel like I could probably fill in my eyebrows more, but I don't think that I have an eyebrow pencil here with me or an eyebrow powder, so she won't be filling in her eyebrows anymore. This is the final look. This has been a whirlwind of a year, and I'm really glad that it is coming to an end, if I'm being honest, and I'm super looking forward to 2022. Thank you for your continued love and support. I love you. Thank you so much for watching this video. Don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe before you go, and hopefully I will see you in my next video. Bye! I poked myself in the eye.